and you can build off the durability of that DK with the Phoenix heal if you get that opportunity.
That you can. I'm kind of shocked that DK made it all the way to this point, even without being picked up, because it seems to be extremely popular, especially in the region of China right now. Just one of those picks that every team wants, but CDEC, they do not. They go for the Luna. And now I'm really getting confused with this draft. What is CDEC doing and where are they running all these heroes? It kind of looks like a POS 4 Weaver now and a position 1 Luna.
Nah.
No?
I'd rather have the pause for Luna.
Okay.
I'd rather have that over the Weaver just because it gives you some control. It doesn't need too much farm. It can still do a lot of early magic damage. I think if you look at it from a team fight context, this is pretty darn good. You've got the Mars Arena, you've got the Eclipse, the Global Silence as well coming into play. You've got the Luna Aura for the Silencer Weaver and Mars to benefit from, which is really great. It's a pretty fast-paced draft from CDEC, but it also scales nicely as long as they get decent EXP distribution. And because of that, LGD, they're forced to pick up the Shadow Demon just to make use of that Luna. We've seen that counter pick a couple of times just to have the illusions for themselves. This does mean we're looking at either a core Phoenix or a core Clock on top of that, unless they run the core Shadow off, which again is not it's not like it hasn't happened before, but I don't think that lines up here for LGD's draft all too well. But they can get it done if that's something they want to prioritize.
I believe the last time we saw that was from Fnatic. Ice was playing the offlane SD, and I can't quite remember the outcome of that game. I just don't remember being exactly swept away by the offlane Shadow Demon. So it is doubtful. It would probably be FY playing that. I suppose only time will tell, though, as X-Nova is quite versatile himself and can take the Shadow Demon as well. We'll just wait and see. We won't play any guessing games here, John. CDEC, they go for the Lycan ban, of course, and well, you've got the DK already there. You don't necessarily want to give the Lycan on top of that. LGD, their final ban now. Should be a mid hero, from what I can tell, but CDEC's draft is still so flexible that it's really hard to know what they should ban here.
It's tricky. I think I do agree though. It's probably a mid. Maybe you go for one of these Spirit banouts. Storm or Void Spirit would be a decent ban. Just kind of slides in there relatively okay. Again, LGD's draft doesn't have the best hold, so both of these heroes abuse that. But it doesn't look like they're quite keen on that ban out just yet.
Okay. Well, they'll continue having a think about it. 25 seconds reserve time left now, LGD. Of course, they definitely don't want to lose out this game. They'll get rid of the Venomancer. And, well, it's an interesting ban to make. I guess it would have done decently up against that Dragon Knight. Apart from that, I didn't really see much else of a reason to go down that Veno route, but LGD clearly just don't want to play against it, which is fine, because you do have CDEC who have the last pick. So perhaps with this last pick here from LGD, we'll see why they didn't want the Veno.
5 seconds remaining.
Again, though, up against the DK, it's already a decent counter, so it makes enough sense.
Radiant team pick.
Fair, they do close out with a Ricky, so they do have that control we're looking for. Weaver doesn't enjoy being under that smoke screen, neither does the Luna. Combine that with the cogs from the Clock onto the Weaver, for example, that's pretty decent control. So you can keep the Weaver in check with that Ricky. It doesn't take too long to come online. It really depends on how fast LGD wants to play. We'll see just how much time they dedicate to just having Chalice farm up into Ricky, and it's a great pick to kind of tie this draft up. It still has a bit of a timing issue here. I think CDEC just has such a massive spike once they hit 6. They close out with a Tim, but there you go. It rips right through the DK, rips through the Clock, the Phoenix, even the Ricky.
That's a beautiful pick.
The control here is not the best. You're going to have to commit the Disruption or the Dragon Tail to keep Timbersaw in place. SRF is just going to be zipping around. It does look like we will have James and James and Victoria on the support. It is a support weaver coming out here, and it's going to be a core Luna. So not something we've seen too often, but hey, you can make it work. Early spikes to come out from CDEC. LGD, they've got to ensure they don't bleed out too much to SRF. This Timbersaw last pick is so much value for CDEC. They
That
can
it
just get
is.
so much done there. It's kind of scary if they allow SRF to get too much space.
But more importantly, John, what is that Luna mount?
Give me 1 sec. My room is getting wet from rain.
What?
Yeah, the winds were pretty strong. It was coming in through my window. Anyway, Luna
Right.
mount. Yeah, that's another one. That's a
never-
strange one.
I've never seen that.
I think it might be perfect world exclusive items. You know, a lot of these things we tend to only see in China. So these are probably the perfect world exclusive sets. And that's a sick mount. Admittedly, that's pretty sick.
I didn't say I liked it. I just didn't know what it was. It's a weird one. I don't know what it's meant to be.
It looks like a something. I want to say it looks like something out of a fantasy RPG, kind of like a. It looks hellish, but not really hellish because it's not like burning, but kind of looks like those deformed flesh monsters you see in other games. I kind of like it. I kind of dig it. I'm sure that's not the point of it though. So, but it looks cool.
I'll take a closer look. Don't you worry, John.
Yeah, now I'm curious.
We'll get into game number 2, but time we see these cosmetics, we've got to figure out what's going on here. It's like some kind of sea creature, isn't it? Look
Yeah,
at that. It's got the webbing, like the webbed feet.
Yeah, it's pretty sick. Looks like something from like a Naga siren kind of thing, yeah. Does
Okay.
fit that, except it's on, Luna. It's not tied into that lore, but who cares about lore here, Mike? We're here to play the games and watch them, not care about lore.
I care about lore, John. We don't really have much lore in Dota, but well, we do, but it's just never explained and doesn't really make too much sense a lot of the time.
Yeah, it would be nice to explore it a bit more, but I guess that's what Artifact's there for, right? Nice goal from
That's,
James.
You're really gonna bring up Artifact right now, John? Speaking of, I haven't gotten my Artifact 2.0 beta.
You know why, Mike?
Why?
You know why? You're not worth it. You're not
Really?
worthy.
How dare you?
Apparently. The algorithm says so, Mike. Unfortunately.
That's a shame.
You've been weighed and found wanting, Mike.
How upsetting. Chalice is getting harassed out a bit up at that top lane. He'll be fine though. He has plenty of passive regen there, even without the tangos.
Battle begins.
It's always come across as very balanced that Ricky gets 5 passive regen without, just at level 1. He's got 5 base HP regen. Kind of crazy.
Yeah. It's really nice for Chalice because he will be copping a lot of hits here. And XM and James are just going to be constantly applying some right-click damage on. I mean, X-Nova's around to try and mitigate that, but we've seen this a couple of times. Level 1 Fire Spirits, not the best damage, and a very long cooldown to boot, so you might not have that up right when you need to stop the movement from CDEC.
No, you might not. We'll have a look at all the lanes, because they do look to be a bit more quiet this game. You've got SRF there on the Timber, of course, up against the DK mid. Now this lane arguably could lead in kills, and I usually never say this about any lane that involves a Dragon Knight. But with a Timbersaw against you, you do have to be fairly careful about how far you extend, especially when he does have that Whirling Death up. And as we see, SRF is already started focusing in on making sure that Somnus never really feels comfortable in coming close to those last hits.
Yeah, it's going to be a tricky time for Somnus to really contest here. Even if they keep level parity, it's always going to be a better time for that Timbersaw. Just the nature of that matchup. It's a strength hero up against a melee strength hero up against Timbersaw. He's always going to win out.
That is true. Of course, bot lane, you'll see Old 11 there with FY, and Victoria going to be there with Arme down at the bot lane on the side of CDEC. It is actually a pos 1 Luna, by the way, so they didn't end up running the position 4. And Arme should have a decent time in this bot lane, in all honesty. Like, you've got this core clockwork. And you know how I love commenting on core clockwork, John? It's just, to me, pointless to have it as a core. I usually would argue it should just be a support. It can still be very effective with that farm priority, don't get me wrong, but in terms of like trying to contest against this Luna, maybe you can threaten. In fact, they're going to try. Old 11 does have that battery assault up, and well, they are going to just catch Arme in, and he can't really get out of this. A great block out from FY, and they do find the first blood. Old 11 getting the killer now. Victoria could be in trouble. Why does this always happen? Every time I'm about to make a point, the team that I'm talking about always has to prove me wrong. Every time.
That's First Blood's not that amazing. You've got really stronger control here from LGD, right? You've got the cogs, the battery assault early on to really block in the Luna. Support Silencer in this case doesn't have too much presence. Again, one of the reasons why we haven't seen Silencer in this position in a long time is because he doesn't have as much aggression left in him. You don't have as much control here as CDEC. That's something LGD needs to constantly take advantage of. You're not going to be happy with just one kill. You want more. You really need to slow down Ame's pace, because the Luna, one kill is great, but as long as you get that decent timing in the Dominator, you're still going to be flying like a madman later on.
Top lane, James falling very, very low, does salve up, but X-Nova does cancel that salve, and now James just has to TP back to the fountain as the Fire Spirit damage was coming in from X-Nova. He does force out a nice TP back. Of course, XM is still there farming up on the Mars. Well, Chalice is kind of uncontested in all fairness on this Riki, I've got to say. He's 22-1 on the Riki. Really not struggling whatsoever at the moment, and I suppose in all fairness, there's not much XM can do about this Riki, but you need that Weaver there, just harassing Chalice out a little bit.
Yeah, it's been a rather free time for Chalice, as you mentioned, way beyond even a farm down bot, and again, you see early kills here for LGD.
Yeah, Victoria goes down, Arme does barely get out of there, and now James gonna rotate his way down to the bot lane, leaving that Mars up top by himself, but he may be able to just set up a kill here onto FY, but Old 11, he'll get the Conk's battery assault once again. James should be able to get out of this with Sakuchi in just one, and he will commit. However, that rocket flare was a little scary for a second, but it is only level 1. He won't be able to secure the kill, and at the very least, he probably will force James to go back to the fountain again.
Yeah, they've really kept a good check here down bot for LGD. They've managed like a lot of supports down, freeing up the top lane to keep Chalice farming up freely. There are no rotations down mid to really find those early kills onto Somnus, so this lane, the DK is still not too happy about, but he's alive, he's finding equal farm, and SRF's not really finding a kill op without the support rotations. Overall, LGD is setting the pace quite nicely in the early game.
Well, X-Nova getting very low on that Phoenix now. XM just going to continue chasing him down. James will scout him out with the Sakuchi, and that should be a very easy kill onto X-Nova. Mind you, that's a lot of time that XM kind of just left the lane and chased down a position 5 Phoenix. This has left Chalice alone again up at that top lane, who is still at the top of the last hits board, free farming up on that Riki. You kind of question how valuable it is to change a POS 5 for that long.
Not very valuable. Chalice has just had way too free of a run. You know, it's something with the Mars-Riki matchup as well. Down the line, this Mars is not going to feel very tanky with just how the Riki works and tricks.
Victoria, he dies again. Old 11 just being really on point with his clockwork so far, and now James going to be chased down. He's quite squishy on that Weaver. He'll just try and juke them out with the Sakuchi. However, now they'll see him, but no, they actually didn't see him. He was within the fog. So James, at least, Sakuchi's out of there. But again, it's just the POS for Weaver's not really doing too much yet, I've got to say.
No, it's been rather slow going for James. He doesn't really have a lane he can rotate into and do too much damage. His best choice is up against Chalice, but he's forced to make his presence elsewhere, and Ame again being caught out.
He's just so squishy on this Luna right now, they'll just keep chasing him. chasing him down. Eventually they will avoid going under the tier 1, but Somnus is there now. They want to start this push down to the bot tower very, very early here, LGD. And that is exactly what they'll do. Somnus pops the dragon form onto the tier 1 tower, and well, Arme, he just TPs straight out, and they bring SRF in here on the Timber Sword to defend. And well, with that Timber, you're not even going to bother sticking around. In fact, they go up towards that top lane where they have found another target. It is actually going to be Chalice this time. He will die. Old 11 now TPing in, but he also dies. Just straight into them.
It's not quite the way you want that to go, and it's time for CDEC to get some good damage onto that tier 1 up top. With their lineup, with the physical damage they do, it is a lot faster for them to find these objectives.
Dire's top tower is under attack.
Shouldn't really be happening here for CDEC. They shouldn't be allowed to do this. But they are. You could make the argument it is just back to that Timbersaw pick, which you just can't get through. Mind you, SRF has come back to the mid lane now, but he can even just start forcing that creep wave into that mid tier 1 tower. For Somnus will be there to defend on the DK. But SRF now, he's just going to creep skip right underneath that tier 1. Meanwhile, however, Victoria does die once again on the silencer. FY picking up that kill. But I don't think you'll mind too much right now if you're CDEC, because you are forcing in so many objectives across the map that your POS 5 silencer dying for the 4th time this game, or rather the 3rd, it's like, who cares?
Yeah, it's really not the biggest deal anymore for CDEC. They're keeping the net worth fairly even, despite having so many deaths on Ame. Even if LGD find these pickoffs, they don't push as fast with Chalice. Ricky just does not melt towers as well as Luna does. So they're still trying to chip away in this tier 1 bot. It's just not going fast enough, although they do have Somnus around.
They do. They're still trying. Another dragon form. Committed. This time around, SRF may just decide he'd rather keep forcing in that tier 1 mid tower instead. And that is indeed the case. XM's joined him in that mid, so they're more than happy to trade these tier 1s like this. The thing is, though, Somnus does claim the bottom tier 1, and they do have time to try and defend. However, speaking of that defense, Icarus dive out from X-Nova is not going to work when you have last word on top of you. Of course, the silence of the last word does pop as soon as you press the Icarus dive button, essentially, and Old 11 trying to go on to the Luna. Arme does get caught out again on that Luna, and now the dominated creep even going to go down here to Old 11. Nice, easy 200 gold.
Yeah, a nice set of pickoffs for LGD again, keeping that Luna in check. They do manage to get a full 1k lead now. Not massive, but SRF is pretty deep in.
X-Nova getting low, he'll be okay. SRF still going, or rather trying to get out now. There's that battery assault again. He can't chain out of this. He'll have to just try and fight back. He'll throw the chakram out. SRF, he's very, very tanky. They'll use the disruption now with the Sunray on top. It's a lot of damage, but SRF, he does eventually go down. And XM just pops the arena, gets the bounty, kills off Chalice. All right.
That's a bit of a back and forth. Like, you sacrifice your offlaner, you do find the opposing safe laner here for CDEC side. It's still favorable for CDEC because they're keeping that Ricky down just a bit longer, and the progression for Chalice has not been quick. Still at 3.4k gold. You could argue Ame's not been having a great time as well at 3.7, but the Luna does flash farm a lot better. So you're still getting better progression for CDEC overall. You do see the rest of CDEC's lineup start to show a lot more presence in lane.
Bot lane. FY gonna go down. Now XM gonna be chased out, however. He doesn't have much mana left. How do you survive this? Old 11 just chasing him down with Chalice. Hookshot there as well with the global silence now coming out. CDEC, they're trying to protect XM, but they just can't quite do it. Now James has to Sakuchi away, but X-Nova, he is on the case. He's forced a time lapse and we'll just go the other way. Does get the Kuri on his way out, however. Old 11, you're losing that broadsword. They'd really like to kill off James for this, but yeah, he'll be fine. He'll just continue just walking away.
Yeah, I mean, all this time they keep rotating in like this is time where Chalice, he's not farming up in Ricky. That's usually what you don't see Rickies do anyway, but they're not finding the big kills, and this does mean that Ami is still slowly building up. You're not seeing the same progression coming out from LGD, so despite these kill trades...
Old 11, I kind of getting close to maybe getting gone on there, but it looks like CDEC just don't want to really risk it without vision. Yeah, PSG.LGD, they are starting to loop around through that mid lane. Dragon Tail is going to come out there from Somnus. They want to go on to SRF. FY, though, still kind of out of range. Going for that Purge? No, he won't bother. But now Old 11, he does get James in the cogs. Hook shot, however, does land as well. So they do get one kill. CDEC, they have that arena up. They'd love to get an arena around somebody. You've also got the Eclipse there from Arme. Mind you, Arme's still only level 8 on that Luna. So he's not exactly at that level he'd like to be right now on the Luna, and maybe just doesn't feel comfortable to fight. However, now SRF getting jumped on. In fact, never mind that, Victoria's just going to die. Chalice just goes to the backlines and gets a very easy support kill, and now SRF, he's been surrounded. There's that Sunray coming out with Old 11 just with the battery assault, not allowing him to get out of there. Eclipse is out, however. They do get Old 11. Now SRF turning back around, trying to chase down the side of LGD. There'll be James in the front lines going after X-Nova, but he'll be alright. And that'll be it. 2 supports going down. Everyone else just appears to be fine. In fact, I say 2 supports, but the clock's not a support. He is a core.
Yeah, you did have to buy back on Victoria for that, so a bit of an investment there from CDEC to find that trade. But overall, they're keeping the aggression of LGD in check, and it's LGD's lineup that really wants to play this fast game. So as long as they're not overwhelmingly winning here on LGD's side, then they're not building a big enough lead, as CDEC's still keeping that in check, although...
Oh, 11 again. Nice hook shot straight out. However, James, no, doesn't actually get the chance to use that time lapse. He was still within the smoke screen when he tried. So, the rest of CDEC once again being forced to back out. You'll still see SRF though, forcing rotations into that mid lane. Dragon Tail's going to be there from Somnus with the Purge out from FY. But SRF, he's just so tanky. They don't have the Spirit Vessel yet, so they can't really take him out very easily. We see SRF as well, I mean, Old 11 rather, trying to go after the Spirit Vessel, but he's going for the Blade Mail after the urn first. So he's going to delay that Spirit Vessel timing a little bit. LGD, they do get the tier 1 tower anyway, so it's not really that big of a deal if you can't kill the Timber.
It's giving LGD a little bit more control here, allows them access to the jungle just a bit better. Should keep CDEC on their toes. It's not been necessarily safe for Ame anyway, as he has been under a lot of pressure in his own jungle. So really good movement so far from LGD. They haven't quite secured a big net worth lead though. Relatively, the farm on CDEC is fairly even across all cores. On LGD side, the only real runaway hero is Somnus. So you're really not seeing that build up on the Ricky come out just yet. And that might cost them. They have to try splitting up that gold just a bit better, and they are giving Chalice space down bot. You're seeing the build-up for Somnus into a BKB. Once that's up and running, you're not going to have issues any longer from SRF. You're just going to dodge all his damage.
Old 11 might be able to get a hook shot off here, but won't bother trying. He doesn't have enough help around the corner. Does have his Blade Mail up now, though, on that clock. Both teams just kind of taking a few minutes to just continue farming up a little bit, as they may have felt they were falling behind in those pos 1s, and they kind of were. Arme still ahead of Chalice, but not by much. Just keep farming up on that Luna. Try and get to that point where you feel like you just can't be contested any longer, and the same goes for Chalice. He just picked up that Diffusal Blade now. And perhaps with that Diffusal Blade, it's about the timing now where Chalice may actually start to make those plays where he can just roam around the map, find supports for himself, and just kill them.
Yeah, that is usually the big power spike for the Ricky, so look to Chalice to start making those plays. Surprised that CDEC's not prioritizing something like a fast force staff on either of the supports. I mean, Victoria has it queued up, but this silencer is not going to be finding that quick farm to bail out any of his other teammates. So that's going to be a bit of an issue for CDEC as LGD start to hit their power spikes.
Well, they'll continue just going through the Radiant jungle now, LGD. CDEC seem to be ready for this, however. They do have some vision around their own jungle, and of course they see Chalice right now, so they're starting to roam in towards that Riki. Dust's going to be popped with the global silence as well. Now the arena being dropped, and well, with all that being committed, there's no way for Chalice to survive. So he does go down. Now CDEC just going to take their outpost back, and that should be it. I doubt LGD will try to go for any kind of fight without that Riki.
It's a bit tricky. They do still have at least the egg here, but they're not in a position to really force a numbers advantage. Just back to farming, just back to building up. I think they're really just waiting for Somnus to finish up that BKB. He's just about there, does have the gold. So once you have that in the DK, again, you're not worrying about too much of the magic damage coming out here from CDEC. None of their control is going to be able to get through that, and should have an easier time to just stand and fight there as the DK.
Well, they're still just chilling out. Chalice wants to go for the full mantle, which makes enough sense up against that silencer, but they're going to smoke up now. They're going to find SRF, and that's not really the target that they want. They will go with the smoke screen now. SRF taking a fair bit of damage, especially with that Sunray coming out. He is burning. However, here comes the Eclipse. They do get SRF, but can they get the rest? Chalice will blink strike out. Egg being dropped right on top of the high ground, so they can't contest that. And now the stun coming in onto XM. This Mars is in huge trouble. A great cogs out from old Levin, actually just blocking him in. They'll find a secondary kill. Now even maybe a third. Dragon Tail stun will hold in Victoria, and he'll also go down.
Ooh. It's a really big set of wins for LGD. Great reveal of their BKBs as well. Not the best use of the BKB coming out from XM. He popped it, but was still in range of that supernova, so just got stunned true anyway, and it's costly for CDEC. They need to just pull back, try to build up a little bit more on Ame, saving up for his BKB. Once that's up and running on your Luna, you have a few more options to play with. But LGD, they're starting to apply that pressure on the map. They're going to take that tier 1 top, and it should be a pretty free tower for them, although, no, they're backing off. They're playing safe.
Yeah, they got the glyph, and that seems to be all they wanted. Somnus is slowly making his way back, but his dragon form's ended. I'll just try without the dragon form. I don't believe CDEC will even bother trying to defend this tower anyway. It's just kind of pointless. I'll just leave it. Still LGD, they are looking great right now with the 2k net worth lead. Still a very even game and can go either way, but CDEC may feel like they haven't really used their own draft to the best of their ability thus far. Well, you got the Spirit Vessel now onto that Weaver, so you might feel like you can actually get through the DK even faster, but with that BKB, it just makes it a bit too hard. They've got to try and get some charges out of Somnus to deal with him later on. But even now, somehow, Xnova's found the gold for a Veil of Discord.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot harder to fight into LGD. They just got so much damage flying out, and they do smoke up. Might be able to find something.
They could afford to go after SRF this time straight away instead, because it's just... You've got ways of dealing with him now. They just hook in straight away. Of course, Sunray is there. Cogs him in. There's that global silence, but it doesn't matter. He just melts. And LGD, they're just going to keep going.
It's a massive commitment from CDEC to pop that global silence there. It's a really long cooldown and one of their best pieces of control, so it's a major win for LGD. And they've still got the dragon form up. They can do a lot of damage towards this tier 2 bot.
That they will. Glyph will come out once again from CDEC. XM gonna show himself. They want to keep going after this tower as their siege creep is somewhat protected here by Somnus, but no, they're going to jump onto XM. He does pop his BKB, does get the arena off as well, but of course the blink out there from Chalice will mean he's safe. Now Somnus committing his own BKB, trying to go for more, but he is falling low in HP and SRF is around. They keep chasing here, CDEC. I believe they need to. X-Nova going to clumsy net and just jump away. James still chasing. You don't really have the catch. SRF, he's just going to chain up and, well, they should be able to get the Phoenix though. No, he gets the egg off in time and it was a bit of a bait there from X-Nova. SRF trying to get out. He does chain away. And he's low, but he'll be alright. LGD now, feeling like they can just turn around once again.
Tower is under attack.
Nobody's going to be there from CDEC. You've got the hook shot off in 5 seconds for Old 11. But I don't believe he's going to find anyone. Maybe you get James, I guess, if Somnus scouts this out. And he will give vision. There's the hook shot out from Old 11. Just perfect. There was no neutral camp to block that off either. Just a very, very easy play there from Old 11.
Yeah, and they really are slowly building up here on LGD. A 3K advantage now on their side. A lot of that farm is riding on Somnus, but this DK is applying that early pressure. He does have the Dragon form back up. They could try to go towards a tier 2 once more. Every single spell from LGD is ready except for the egg. They do have a pretty good position here to just keep chipping away at these towers.
Radiant's bottom tower has fallen. Dire's top tower is under attack.
Old 11 looks like he's going to go for a BKB up now. Somnus trying to work towards a silver edge. Oh, CDEC, they've smoked up.
Oh. Old 11?
Well, they found an arena around FY, but Old 11, he's trying to go onto Arme. Arme making a run for it. It's like he'll be fine to just get out of here, but here comes SRF now. Bailey scored out onto both. Still SRF trying to go after Old 11. Now the Eclipse coming out with the BKB from Arme. He's still taking a fair bit of damage in that Eclipse. Didn't quite do enough, but they do get X-Nova while losing SRF on that Timber. Now chasing down Old 11, but he's fine. And James will also go down at the end of that team fight to Somnus, who gets another double kill.
Radiant are scanning.
This draft from CDEC is just not really panning out the way they would have hoped. It just seems like every team fight, they take so long to kill off the Phoenix. By the time they do, the rest of their team is just dead.
Yeah, it's really not playing to their favor here, CDEC. They still need a lot of farm to fly out onto Ame for the Luna to start being a menace. Surprised that he's actually opting for the SNY, but the added stats are pretty darn good in this game, just to keep yourself protected. One big issue for CDEC is Ame can't really fight without Eclipse, and they've not been able to get Eclipse out in the way they'd want to in the middle of the arena in these fights, because LGD has been rather split up. So there's a lot of discipline here from LGD in how they engage in these fights. They are pulling ahead with a 7k advantage, and you know, it's starting to be a bit of an issue. Somnus, he's just been all over the map, getting the control out, really hard to deal with on the DK end. Just setting up for his team so far.
Oh, Arme. He's by himself trying to farm up, but it's just way too far forward. He'll BKB TB. They might still have the damage. Ooh. No. Chalice, when he popped that Manta, he kind of got blocked by his own illusions and he missed out on that final strike he needed. Still, they do get Old 11 now. So CDEC could try and turn this once Arme is rejoined, but he's going to walk his way back. It looks like they're just kind of comfortable with the fact that their POS 1 isn't dead.
Yeah, it is rather difficult. Again, Ame is going to have Eclipse in around 20 seconds, though. This is a bit of an opening for CDEC. They wanted to force a fight.
Anything, though. I gotta say it, like in these team fights, it's kind of chipping away a little bit, but ultimately the Eclipse just isn't that scary.
Yeah, but you can't fight without it. So if you're gonna fight, you might as well have it up, and when it's down, you just can't. The other options are just for Ame to keep farming up, but again, his map is overtaken. There's not much options here for CDEC left, although it is risky when you throw Ame like that. Yeah, it's a lot of free gold flying out for LGD on top of that.
It's just worth it every time you see that dominated creep. You just purge it up with that diffusal blade and take it out as Chalice. It's just easy gold. Well, now he looks for a way to try and make another jump in. Won't really have that opportunity. But LGD with a 6k net worth lead seem very, very confident to just keep this game going the way it is. There's no reason to try and rush anything here for them. Like, you do have that point where it might get a little scary that James is going to have an Aghanim Scepter eventually. And that could be somewhat of a turning point for CDEC. Because you do essentially just give one of your teammates a secondary life. And if it's a really long team fight, then we're talking about multiple lives. Because it is only a 16-second cooldown for that Ag's time lapse. But you still got about 2.7k worth of gold to save up here for James before you really get to that point anyway.
Yeah, it's pretty slow going for CDEC and finding farm now. It's just a bit too constrained on the map to really get the itemization and all of these heroes. Like, even the itemization XM has slowed down. Like, he's had this Desolator queued up for the past, what, 5-6 minutes now. Just only finds the Mithril Hammer now. Still lacks another hammer. Good scan out from CDEC, and that is just a smoke movement, though.
It is. Ame gonna run straight into them. Does break the smoke, and we've seen this before, CDEC. They just don't want to deal with it right now. They'll back out. So, LGD back into that Roshan pit. Won't be too hard of a Roshan if CDEC are unwilling to contest this. Do see a scan coming out now from LGD, just checking the river. They're not there though, but they have left the Roshan, seeing Ame pushing up that mid wave.
Oh.
Counter smoke going to be broken by SRF. Somnus will get started, now hookshot in. They are going to kill this Timber. They have the Silver Edge there on the Dragon Knight. It makes it very easy with the break. And that'll be it. It's just the Global Silence just doesn't really do much right now, and just kind of get a kill and back off to the Roshan pit again.
It's this initiation from CDEC is really just not working out the way they want. They can't walk in with the Timbersaw anymore. It's just way too squishy. You need to jump in with the arena from XM and build off the back of that, but oh, Somnus
gets Victoria. You did see the Weaver just split pushing that mid lane, trying to make sure they couldn't push after that Aegis comes out, but it looks like the waves are being cleared by Old 11 and Chalice anyway, so they're not going to be too bothered by this. Meanwhile, X-Nova taking a second to get some deep wards down that opposing triangle, but it was a sentry ward on the cliff that they do need to get a D ward off on CDEC side. They'll just keep going with this farm, though Arena is going to be there onto FY, but he just disrupts himself. Now Chalice will show himself as well, going onto XM. He will spear him into the walls of the Arena. XM still trying to go onto Chalice, but there's that smoke screen, and he is going to die. Meanwhile, Somnus wanting to try and go onto James. A great hook shot out from Old 11, and they will get the cogs off. James still trying to scoochie away. It will not be good enough. They have the dust ready this time, and with that, they may try for a high ground push, LGD.
Yeah, they can. They still have a lot of time left in the Dragon. They've still got the Aegis up. Nothing to stop this coming out. You don't have a Global Silence. You have Eclipse, but
it just gets jumped on, and the amount of damage they have is just way too high. Repair kit will delay things, but even then, like, you look at the damage coming out of Somnus and Chalice right now, and it's not doing that great of a job of delaying it either.
It's just going to be a really straightforward now for LGD to clear out this lane. They even go back top.
Oh, Ame, no. He BKB TP, but Old 11 will make it in time for the hook shot. Cancels the TP. gets the Lunar kill, and well, Old 11 denies the tier 2 tower to make matters even worse. Now Chalice, he could be in a bit of trouble, but he just blinks away. And now, Global Silence comes out, Arena has been dropped at XM, what are you going to do? He goes after X-Nova, does get that kill. LGD, they don't care. They're going to go back in. Somnus, straight back onto the Weaver. Now with the smoke screen, an easy kill. They'll go for more. Back onto that Silencer. Victoria, he's dead as well. SRF does at least claim the Aegis. James will buy back on that Weaver. Somnus has begun going back onto SRF, getting the break, and they have plenty of damage to follow up with. Hookshot in from Old 11, going after XM, trying to control up that Mars. They're getting a lot of buybacks out from the side of CDEC. But I believe these buybacks are only favoring the side of LGD.
Yeah, they get to keep going on to the push. They get a fresh Dragon form out for Somnus. They're going to have to try to go for one last fight, although it looks like LGD is happy enough. They did lose the Aegis there. Yeah, it's that repair kit again, dissuading you from the push. They do have the Ags in Old 11, so he does have that overclock now. Gonna go back in a bit.
That Ags is a huge power spike on the Clockwork, I've got to say. Like, it is very dangerous to play against. James getting caught out on the Weaver. Victoria almost dying there. Hookshot from a mile away from Old 11, straight onto that Luna. Refreshes, gets another one. And, well, Arme is going to die back on the Luna. And it might be about that time to call the GG. And they do call it. It's time.
Really strong showing from LGD this time around. 13-31, 22k lead. Good reversal from game 1. This does mean we are forced into a game 3. Great showing from both sides. We'll see whether or not game 3 will be a bit more even for both teams, as both game 1 and game 2 did feel like rather one-sided from both sides.
It did. That was definitely very much LGD favored. Like, at the start, it was kind of mixed. You know, the laning stage was going decently enough for CDEC, but it was just Chalice free farming too much. He was just left up to the top lane to do whatever he wanted, and of course, Old 11 on the Clockwork, all props to the man. Really setting up so many kills, and, well, how can you forget about Somnus, John? He's 8-0-8. A perfect game for him. He's going to be feeling very happy with himself, and so he should. Nevertheless, Game 3 will be coming up in about 10 minutes. It is MLP Dota and JohnXFire. We'll see you again very, very soon for that third game of this best of 3.